Okay, we are now recording. Again, welcome everyone to the May 29th COAD biweekly meeting. This is the first of us moving into a biweekly briefing in response to a series of other adjustments we made to accommodate people's time and best maximize all of our collective work. So the format is going to be predominantly informational, using the chat box for questions and answers. And in other meetings and forums is where we have higher levels of engagement, but do plan to do breakouts and such in the future. I gotta be honest, it's a bit hard to start this meeting. I'm entering with a heavy heart, as I'm sure many of you are joining today with. Racism and inequity that engulfs our communities are on full display right now. And there's no words that I really have to offer that can sufficiently provide comfort to wounds that run so deeply in the bones and in the fabric of our society. So I just want to lift up what is happening, know that many, like myself today, may be struggling with how to fully be present and fully engage. I was in conversation this morning with a good friend and a colleague in this work named Jason Purnell. He is the individual who is leading the regional response effort in COVID-19. But a fun fact you may not know about him that is very relevant to the feelings that we have and the work we're doing today is that 6 years ago tomorrow was when Dr. Purnell released a report called For the Sake of All, which was a comprehensive study that showed the health disparities between whites and blacks within St. Louis City and St. Louis County. And since that time, and even before that time, Dr. Purnell and many others have been working tirelessly to address the inequities that this COAD is addressing and is responding to. And in talking with him this morning, I said, it feels somewhat inconsequential to have this meeting today with all that's going on. And he conveyed to me that it is far from inconsequential because the threat that our community faces from this pandemic and all of the inequities surrounding it aren't going away. And the need for this table and the work we're trying to do both now in the season of response and what I hope and pray we do with even more rigor as we move towards recovery is about the work of addressing the racial inequity in our society. So I, again, just acknowledge where we are in this space and time. I am grieving with so many of you, if not all of you, and just will do my best to facilitate this through to get out the important information and updates as we go forward. And so within that, I want to recall out something that may center us in our action that I sent out last week. That is about, as we do this work, as we acknowledge the inequities that exist within us, what is it that each of us can be doing and should be doing to see, name, and disrupt racial inequity? I hope folks had the opportunity to dive into this document that Alive and Well Communities provided. And I have a request that if there are ways you do not see us living these practices out enough or at all, that you call us out and that you help us navigate through to living them out, to not traumatize, re-traumatize, or do more harm than good during this time, because it is very easy to. And the other thing I want to reiterate about this document, as you see twice on the screen, that it has a huge focus on the after, in quotes, meaning that this is going to take a lot of work both now and as we go. So I appreciate those listening to what I had to share. I want us to best center this in not only today's meeting, but in all of our work going forward. and as mentioned earlier, need all of you to help in doing so. Today is a unique day. Many of you are likely aware that today our region, and I believe all regions of Illinois, move into phase 3, which means things start opening back up, gatherings start getting to resume, and so forth. And it's a pathway towards even more opening up. While that is exciting for many, and there's different reasons to be hopeful about it, something very important to be clear about, which I'm sure Linda Joyner, who will be following my initial introduction, will convey, is this: the disease has not gone away. There is no vaccine yet. So while we are making progress, and I'll share in the chat box momentarily, like what are the metrics that lead toward progress and to move to phase 3, we are still not out of the woods, and we need to be as regimented about our practices. I don't know all of the details about phase 3 and all the procedures, but the resources are available both on the governor's website as well as on Eastside Health District. Based on feedback from before, we know that people can access the information about the COVID-19 cases elsewhere, so we're not going to devote much time to that. But I do invite Linda to join and present. Numbers are what they are. The main thing I want to two things I want to call out is, one, to acknowledge the lives lost. As Linda has often shared, any one life is enough to be saddened and grieved on, and ensure we take action. The other thing I want to point out is, as you look at the numbers, that this represents, in terms of the number of people tested, only about 3% of the entire population of St. Clair County. So let that just tell you in terms of what we do not yet know of what still is a threat in our community. So with that, Linda, I invite you to unmute and maybe get your camera on, share about the contact tracing program, what's ahead, and the opportunities that we need folks on this call to help spread the word and assist, because there are numerous job opportunities available that we need your assistance in recruiting for. So Linda, can you?
I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Go. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I apologize for arriving late. I had the wrong meeting information. I'd like to share with you our numbers for today. I believe these are yesterday's numbers that I'm looking at. In our area, Eastside Health District, which again are the townships of East St. Louis, Canteen, Stites, and Centerville, and they include outlying areas. We had a total of 2,176 persons to test, 334 of which were positive. We had 1,841 of whom were negative. One is pending, and we have yet another fatality, and that just saddens me so. We're just losing our residents, and it's a lot to bear. When you look at the state of Illinois, those numbers are even more attention grabbing, if you will. So far, we have performed a total of 829,964 tests in Illinois. 115,833 of our Illinoisans have tested positive, and we have lost 5,186 Illinoisans. So that is it in a nutshell of where we are. And of course, Eastside Health District's numbers roll into St. Clair County's numbers, and we will have those current numbers this afternoon. So let's just shift gears for a minute. Eastside Health District will be one of the sites for what we call contact tracing. This is a very important job and a very important component of COVID-19. The positions will be, I don't know how many, some of these will understandably be one person, but it is an opportunity for those of us who are interested in doing something. It is grant funded. It's my understanding that it is at least going to be for a year. But we need contact tracers. You don't need any type of formal training for that. You will be trained. Everybody here will get a shot in the arm, if you will. Contact tracers, we need a contact tracer program manager, contact tracer supervisor. We need a health educator, a resource coordinator, and that would be a licensed social worker. We need a bilingual interpreter, preferably Spanish. We are going to need a custodian, a director of environmental health, nurses, LPNs, medical assistants, data entry clerk, an IT specialist, nurse practitioners, disease information specialists, and we're going to need case managers. So these skill sets encompasses both ends of the spectrum. Those who may be a little timid, you will be trained. Those who have training in other areas, you will be able to parlay your skills onto this. The application is on our website, eastsidehealthdistrict.org, COVID-19. And that's the starting part. Is also an application on IDPH's website. This application on our Eastside Health District's website, persons are hopefully prone to apply there who are interested in servicing this area, for lack of a better word. We'll put it that way. But there may be those of us who have no problem traveling or going to another area, and IDPH needs to know that. And they have an online app also. So we got a plethora of positions. I'm sure we get every position filled with just the people on this call, if they were able to apply for it. So that's about it, unless you have some questions for me. Liz is in a continuous state of working on this, and if I don't have the answer for you today, we can get it for you, call you back, however you want us to respond.
Thank you, Linda. And just for time and with a lot of dates to get through, please, friends, use the chat box if you have questions. Again, it's evolving in terms of the job opportunities and listings, but there's high need. So please spread the word. Thank you.
Okay.
We are going to transition to give updates across a series of work streams that are happening. You're going to get to see previewing though of some visuals that have been prepared that are a way to just help communicate the word work more broadly, as we know we need to engage even stakeholders, and as people who aren't yet plugged in want to be plugged in. This is a tool. So these are hot off the presses, if you will, have not yet been printed, but we're still proofing, but we wanted to give you first look as we go through. So trying to capture what our COAD is and how this work is unfold. We've trying to kind of just really reflect the mission, or rather purpose, the focus areas, as well as, what are what is this work looking like? And so here's an initial graphic that we're going to be putting out and dropping in your email boxes early next week. We encourage you to feel free to distribute. What you don't see is at the bottom is an email address to contact, if folks want to get involved who are not yet involved. But sort of looking at the focus areas, we're going to do some updates and report outs from those areas. So starting with education and enrichment, I'm going to welcome Hannah Sherrard to give an update on some of the work that is happening.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name's Hannah. Happy Friday. Members and friends of the East St. Louis Youth Development Alliance have been meeting now for 2.5 months to make sure that all children and youth are still having opportunities to be engaged in learning, whether that's academic, social, emotional learning, socially connecting with each other, all of that. What we're really working on right now is preparing for summer. This last month, we really had no idea what June would bring, whether or not any kind of summer camp would be allowed to be held in person. Now we know that that's possible with a lot of guidelines. And so really what we've been doing is working on putting together community resource of what's happening this summer for kids and teens and how people can get involved. And so in the next couple of weeks, you can look for that being distributed around, really trying to make sure that all those resources are in one place and easy to access, that any materials that are being distributed, that we know how that can get out to folks and that they know where to find it. So possibly things like books, gardening kits, things like that, that will help make being at home over the summer a little bit more fun and engaging. The 3 areas that we really focused on as a team are in health and wellness, literacy, and math. And so you can keep an eye out for that stuff coming out. I'm really proud of the group and the work that they've done over the last few months. This has been a really long time working on all of this, and I haven't seen any of that like passion, creativity, determination fade at all. And so really it's just thinking through how to figure this all out in a way that's new and different and make use of all of our resources and talents and put them together for the sake of all the kids in the community, not just this program or that program. Again, I mentioned that summer camps are now allowed to open in phase 3 with a lot of guidelines. So I'll post those guidelines, a link to read those in the chat. If you're considering holding any kind of program, you can read those. If you're considering sending a kid to a summer program, you can read those to know what you should be able to expect. Youth sports programs, competitive youth sports, will not be allowed in phase 3. So some amount of practice activities are, but again, there are a lot of guidelines for those as well. So I'll include that in the chat also. Just a quick reminder that for students in District 189, they still have all of their Chromebooks and can access all of the enrichment websites that they have been able to during the school year. So if you have a child or know of a child in District 189, encourage them to keep making use of that resource. If you're interested in getting involved in any of these efforts, I will leave my contact info in the chat as well, so you can connect. Thanks, Evan.
Thank you, Hannah, and thank you to all on the call who are involved in that work and who are trying to create pathways in the most uneasy circumstances. We are now going to, all of these areas are interrelated when we're talking about the well-being of our community and its kids and our families, specifically in terms of the emotional health and well-being. Liz Brookshire is going to share some of the work that is happening through the St. Clair County Youth Coalition.
Good morning, all. So the St. Clair County Youth Coalition is serving as the emotional health and well-being team of the COAD. And we've been meeting and agreed that we should have a resource list that identifies the resources that are available and increases access to those resources. And so we created a resource list. and which I'm very proud of. The team worked very well together. Lisa Bickett from Touche Regional Hospital helped to guide this work in addition to some other agencies. Evan, do you have the list to share? And so we created this resource list, and then just being more aware of needs in the community, we were able to use the backside of the page to expand information to resources. And so as you can see, there is a list of national and local resources. We still are in the process of finalizing today. And at the bottom, we included a breathing exercise. Just as a quick resource for people. We understand that everyone could be stressed and wanted to have just a tool to reinforce the services that we are here to provide. And then on the back side of the page, we offered the COVID testing sites. Just hearing that number that our numbers only represent 3% of the county is very disturbing to me. And so I am hopeful that as we disseminate this information and get the word out about the availability of testing sites, that hopefully we'll have some contribution to an increase in the number of people who are taking advantage of the testing sites. There's the Illinois, the National Guard, Walgreens, and then of course SIHF Healthcare, whose sites are listed. And then at the bottom, we're just reminding people about hand washing. We can't reiterate that enough. So just wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to ensure that, you know, people have this reminder. And then we do have the St. Clair County page referenced at the bottom. So we are very excited about this resource. And this resource has also been translated in Spanish. And so we're excited about that. We understand that our Spanish speaking community has been difficult to reach in, you know, during this time of the pandemic. So we're excited to be able, through the partnership with our agencies, that they were able to translate this very quickly into Spanish. Kristen Shin at Hoyleton has been great. Children's Home and Aid has been great. I hate to name people because you leave people out, but everybody on the coalition has just been wonderful. The other thing that we're working on is coordinated supports. So each of our agencies provide services to youth and families. However, we recognize that in agencies, there may be a limit to what an agency can do. And so out of concern for being able to effectively serve families, the coalition is establishing a process for coordinated supports, similar to wraparound, if you will, in identifying families that an agency may not be able to support, then bringing it to the group and collaborating and sharing our resources to be able to provide a support to that family. So the invitation to participate in the Youth Coalition is open. Again, I too will include my information. So if you're interested in participating in the Youth Coalition, please let me know. Our next meeting will be on Tuesday, June the 2nd at 9. There was one more thing I wanted to mention that Hannah mentioned, but I didn't finish my note. I'm sorry about that. But please let me know if you're interested, and we'll certainly get you connected with the group. We can't hear you, Evan.
You would think by now I'd have this down, and I simply do not. So forgive me. I was thanking you, Liz, and all the folks involved with the St. Clair County Youth Coalition for spearheading this and just being available. You know, they're finding new ways to meet people, and they're also finding some practice solutions that weren't possible before that are meeting the needs of people. And so there is good that is coming out of this crisis in unexpected ways that we hope that carries on for later. Our next area of focus is a wide-ranging one, and for those of you recall, this is an area where we merged together a few different teams that had had different names, unclear names, mass care, emergency assistance, and so forth. And so we wanted to just clarify, what are we talking about? We're talking about the distribution of resources, physical and financial resources. There isn't as much of an existing group as opposed to actually a variety of collaboratives that are engaged in this work, from Make Health Happen to the Homeless Action Council. There are ways that we're trying to engage. In terms of updates, there are a few things that we just want to, one, re-lift up, and that's mainly that financial assistance is available through a variety of agencies that you can find listed on the resource guide that we've sent out multiple times, and specifically through St. Clair County. They are recipients of the stimulus dollars that allows them to meet people's needs in ways they hadn't before, and hopefully to greater degrees. And so I've just asked Deborah Moore to share a quick update on, what's the volume of applications received, how is that different, and what are they still hoping for and needing help from all of you as we try to get these resources out. So Deborah, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Evan, and hello to everyone. My comments are as they were previously: use the resource. As long as there are dollars available, we want to take full advantage of getting them into the hands of those who need those resources most. I can tell you that we have processed in excess of 400 applications, or they are in the process of being processed. Unfortunately, I can't give you specific numbers on how much has been dispersed and categorize those disbursements, because we just don't have that information readily available. And to be very honest, we're really expending all of our energy on getting applications processed and payments made. I would ask that all of you continue to encourage individuals to apply. I'm sure everyone has the application. It is online. If you do not, it is on the county's webpage. And please utilize that app. And I would ask organizations to assist people in completing the application. It can be completed online. And if you can facilitate that, that would be a great help to the applicant as well as to us. We will receive it faster, obviously, but we can also send out a paper application. We're happy to do that with a stamped, addressed envelope and have it returned. The key, however, is that everyone provides the information that's required, because some of our time is being spent now going back to that applicant, collecting information that was not included in their submittal. So if they could complete that application in its entirety, get it back to us as fast as they can, we're processing them quickly. And if I can, Evan, I'll add to what Linda said. We are also starting up a contact tracing effort at the St. Clair County Health Department. Sometimes we don't realize there are 2 functioning health departments in St. Clair County. And Linda's department has certain townships, and then the county's health department has other townships. So, or other geographies. So please don't confuse them. There are 2, and fortunately, you're able to apply directly through East St. Louis's health department, but for St. Clair County, you're applying really through a state portal. And ultimately, I think the state gets everything anyway, but know that there are 2 departments. Both departments are working feverishly to address the needs. And hopefully we're realizing the cooperation necessary to be as efficient as we can be with the distribution of the services that they're able to provide. And finally, I'll say, if I can, to all listening, St. Clair County is opening softly today, if you will. The hours for the county building, some call it the courthouse, have changed. They are from 9 until 5 now. You must have a mask. If you do not have a mask, you will not be granted entry into the building, and your temperature will be taken if it is higher, if it is 100.4 or higher, you will not be given access to the building. So please be aware, again, it's a soft opening. We're limiting access. I mean, there can only be 2 people on the elevator, and there's a lot we're doing to ensure distance and distancing, but know that the office is open, but all offices can function by phone and online if you choose that option. And those options are posted on our website as well, how each office will function. So thank you very much. Sorry, I went over into another area, but you should be aware of where we are as a county building.
It is effectively a new reality today. So
Yes,
thank you.
we're starting slowly.
Good.
Not being anxious, you know, and I caution folks, don't be anxious, because that will set us back, as Linda has said.
Yeah. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you for all those tireless efforts to process the applications and even do the back checking to make sure the information is completed. Thank you to all who will continue to push those out. Also within this space, we talk about issues of housing and those experiencing homelessness. We've raised it in emails. Sometimes folks don't get to read it all, and want to just make sure we lift up the need. I've asked James Kellerman, who is with Call for Help and chairs the Homeless Action Council, just to give us a status report of how many families they are currently seeking to provide permanent housing for, and the challenges that they are enduring. So James, if you will, the floor is yours for a brief update.
Yeah, thanks, Evan, and hello, everybody, and good morning, and almost noon. Anyway, we're still working with our populations in the hotel, motel, emergency housing situation. We have some good news with everything, really, as far as we're starting to move people out of the motels and getting them into more permanent situations as far as living situations. We're finding, we're hoping right now we had around 65 families and individuals in the motel, hotel areas, and we believe we should have about 45 of them housed in the next week or so into funds that Call for Help has through rapid rehousing and ESG funding. Those funds will house the families and individuals for up to from a minimum of about 6 months, and with the rapid rehousing program, we can house those individuals for up to 18 months. And then once we get them housed, even if it's just for 6 months, we can work with them individually to for mental health, physical health needs, job searches, things like that, to get them into even more of a permanent situation and stuff. We did get a notification that we're going to receive more ESG money in the near future from IDHS, and we should receive almost a couple $100,000 in emergency housing situations. So we'd be able to house all of those families if we can find landlords for everybody. We've asked the people that are housed right now to be proactive and help us with the searches, and that has gotten us some added results as well.
James, can I just ask real quick, and sorry, this is just for the sake of time, what in terms of pressing needs or anything that could be of most help from this body or others are you needing at this time?
If you know of any landlords that might be interested, or if you think there's an outside chance of somebody being interested in renting to us, have them contact me right away through email, or if you would like to contact me, that would be great. Let's see. There's been a lot of help from CUPS and churches and St. Vincent de Paul, Costco Kitchen, as far as food is concerned, and Call for Help. We've all contributed baskets and things for the people that are living in the motels and stuff. And we are almost out of our initial allotment of 166,000 for the emergency housing and stuff, but we received a $15,000 grant from United Way. Kudos to them, and also from the Housing Action group that I think they're based out of Chicago, and that was another 15,000 that we can use. And then I also advocated with IDHS and All Chicago, and they are going to guarantee us money for whoever is left, or whoever comes into the homeless situation, into hotel, motel, emergency housing through June. So, we're kind of going basically week by week right now to see what the cost is, and keep everybody up to date, and try to move as many people out and get them into permanent or more permanent housing as possible.
Thank you, James. Just gonna move us along for time, but there is a question for you in the chat box. If you could just provide the information of what numbers to call, that would be really helpful. Thank you for all the work you do, and members of the Homeless Action Council. We have two more updates in this space, and then we're gonna talk about an impact report and funding opportunities. The next update is actually a blend of one of the other bullets in terms of an advocacy request. The St. Louis Area Food Bank has been doing a tremendous amount throughout the region to supply various spaces with the resources they need to feed people. They have also been very active and aware of limitations and challenges in getting resources. And so there have been efforts nationally to amend different federal legislation. And so I believe, is Melanie on the line to talk about a change or a reform that's trying to be made in the SNAP area?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So we have been working with the Greater Chicago Food Depository and their advocacy team. And they have written this letter that they're sending out, and they're asking people to sign on. And I'll include the sign on in the comments once I'm done kind of explaining the summary. But basically, we're trying to help seniors through the Elderly Simplified Assistance Project. A lot of seniors have issues with receiving SNAP benefits, and they are severely food insecure. and they have issues with going to the office, transportation, health reasonings, and things like that. So through this Elderly Simplified Assistance Project, we are advocating to secure that they will not have to recertify as often as a regular SNAP household. With this project, they will only have to recertify every 36 months rather than right now it's 12 or 24. And that we will also make use of a simplified application if this gets approved for seniors, because that becomes often a problem is the seniors have to go through a 24-page application and it becomes very confusing. The wording, it can be very confusing. So this project would basically give them a better chance of getting these benefits to help them with their food insecurity. So what we're just asking, the deadline is today to sign on to the document. And in the Google form that I'll be sending in the comments kind of gives more information on what this ask is, but we're trying to get a unified front through the whole state of Illinois. Since a lot of these advocacy projects stay in Chicago, we're trying to get more of a Southern Illinois presence. So we would appreciate anybody that has the time to read it, to sign on if you can, but it would be a really great outcome for the seniors who are affected by this in regards of SNAP.
Thank you, Melanie, and thank you for dropping it in the chat box. If folks have questions, please drop it in the chat box as well. And it's an action you can take today, and it'll be very helpful. So just final update, if you look under food supplies and financial support, one of those supply items is around PPE, personal protective equipment. That is a high need, especially now that we're in phase 3. Several meetings back, we had Angie Brown from the Regional Health Commission give an overview of the Prepare STL. Many of you have been involved in preliminary conversations about how to launch that in our footprint, just to educate and spread the word. And it had some starts and stops, but it is now, I think, on the tracks and going to be moving full steam ahead. Thanks to a few different individuals on this phone, including Ms. Wabetta Granger, who will just give a quick update on what's ahead, and we look forward to re-engaging folks who were involved initially.
Hello, everyone. We're just, again, as Evan said, we're trying to get the PPE out to the community. So it is our goal to start on the first weekend of June to be able to provide households with PPE and masks and flyer information on how to be safe during this pandemic and how to move forward as we start to open up. We've also been providing PPE to some of the smaller local businesses that needed assistance with providing PPE. So we've been trying to collect PPE and have it available for the community. And so we have a group of canvassers that will be going out to post signs in different businesses and also to provide PPE to the residents of the greater East St. Louis area. We're going to try to cover this through the month of June. So we'll have a group that goes out during the week and a group that goes out on the weekend. I believe that that is all I have for an update, and we have the flyers and everything ready. If anybody's interested in any of that information or those resources, you can contact me, Wabetta Granger, and I'll make sure, or Sheila Burton, I don't know if Sheila's on here, and we'll make sure that you get what you need.
Thank you, Wabetta, and thank you to all those who have been supportive of this. Ways that folks can help even outside of like being on the ground canvassers is just printing. We're going to be sending out the flyers. You can print them. You see at the top of the logo, it now has the Prepare Greater ESTL. So we really appreciate Prepare STL willingness to adjust their branding to accommodate and acknowledge our footprint. So we have that available. If folks want to print, feel free to do so. If there's a question in the chat box, where can you deliver copies? New Life Community Church is a hub. It's located at 1919 State Street and is open 9 to 5 Mondays through Fridays. Wabetta, correct me if I'm wrong. But that is a space where folks can be delivering them. And again, feel free to hang the information wherever your office is. Want to just jump back, want to, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge a member of our team, Elizabeth Richardson, who has provided their talents to the graphics that you see, both this graphic and the emotional health hotline graphic. Want to just thank them for their amazing contributions to give us some visual to this work. The next visual to this work that we want to create and be able to tell the story of is impact. Many of you are already submitting reports to various funders on a whole host of indicators, be it the numbers of food being distributed, the number of financial assistance dollars allotted out. We are not wanting to make anyone do more work, but we are wanting to try to collect all that you've already produced in the form of reporting to try to really show the collective impact of the members of this COAD and of our community. And so next week we'll be sending an email out with that request to really be able to just tell the story. It is in part for accountability to community. It is in part to help amplify and lift up the good that has happened, and as a vehicle to hopefully generate more resource because we are, again, far from done. So it is an ask that I'm giving everyone a preview for today. If anyone has recommendations on how we can make this as easy and streamlined for you as possible to submit, please let us know. We're toying with, do we send out a form, or do we just say, hey, send us whatever reports you have and we'll do the data? It'll probably be an either or scenario, or and both scenario. So if you have ideas on how we can do it, want to be involved and help telling the story, contact us, drop a note in the chat box, but be on the lookout. We want to be able to collect this information and put together something that kind of gives a initial 2.5 months of the impact to date. So thank you in advance for your help on that. The briefly last 2 items in terms of funding opportunities, we send them out via email as they become available. As we're aware, I believe some of the ones we've sent out are still active, such as the COVID-19 Response Fund through the Community Foundation, the grants also being supplied from Deaconess Foundation, and I'm sure more to come and be released through the United Way. One grant opportunity that we will be talking, or rather including in our next email, will be about R3, which is the Restore, Reinvest, and I'm forgetting the third R, but it has to do with how the state is utilizing revenue from the marijuana tax to help restore and reinvest in communities. There's a few different grants, and there is avenues for collaboratives to apply. I'm sure many of you have seen this opportunity or may have been considering it. At the same time, we're engulfed with all of the hearing now. It's hard to kind of pause and say what's down the road. But this is one that speaks to our work, speaks to addressing the inequities that we're tackling on. We stand ready to help facilitate meetings and coordination to see how folks can work best together and prepare our community to be a hub for these resources and utilize them to their fullest. So be on the lookout for that. Final note on advocacy, in last week's email, we highlighted a campaign called Don't Count Them Out, which is really focusing on the needs of young people during COVID-19. I'm going to drop in the chat box in a minute just a link to that campaign. Our ask is that you continue to promote it on social media, amplify the needs that we've heard from young people in the areas of continuous meals when not in school, the need for digital connection, so the access to broadband, the call out for the mental health needs of young people, as well as how do we prepare and operate for a post-COVID-19 world, and what are the investments being intentionally made that's going to take some creativity of redesigning and navigating this new space. So again, dropping it in the chat box momentarily, but just wanted to highlight those and say, engage, lift the voices of young people up we all can play a role in doing that. Those are the key updates we wanted to give you with, just so folks knew it was happening. It doesn't cover all the good work is happening from many other examples, such as what Children's Home and Aid is doing to continue to provide childcare to essential workers, and what Connection Success is doing to support returning citizens. We'll be talking about some of the unique challenges they are facing in probably our call a couple of weeks from now. But there is more good work than can be shared. We are going to close with just doing a few things. One, Mayor Eastern, Mayor of City of East St. Louis, is on the line. We appreciate his time in joining us. He is leading and having to navigate a very difficult time. Wanted to give him space to share a few remarks. We have a quote, and then I'm going to undo the screen and allow folks to just gather in community for a moment and see one another before we go about our day. So Mayor Eastern, the floor is yours.
Good morning. Thanks. Thanks, Evan. Appreciate you, all that you guys do over there at the east side of the line. And I appreciate all the works that the Community Lifeline does and everyone that's a part of this COAD. Again, thank you for the opportunity to speak. And yes, I do have my hands full, to say the least. You know, I've been on COVID-19 overload, and but we still have to run the city. So just a few points I want to talk about. How does it look for the city of East St. Louis when we open up? Well, we want to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to stay lock and step with the governors and his orders as far as the way we're opening up East St. Louis. We're gonna those restaurants and those bars and taverns, they got to make sure that they have the 6 feet and the 6 feet distancing between them two. They can't open up unless they have outside seating. We're sending out the people now to make sure that the barbershops and the nail salons are in compliance with the recommendations from the Illinois Department of Health and the East Side Health District. You know, so it's a trying time, and you know, none of this, we couldn't plan for this, right? You know, so we are just doing the best we can with what we have, you know. And I'm excited about the tracing grant. You know, that's gonna, I think that's a good thing for us and a good thing for the state. But however, you know, as I stated, you know, we got to make sure we use the testing facilities that we have for us to use at the Jackie Jo and the Kersey Center, and the one that's down the street at the Windsor building. You know, if we don't use the testing center, how can we trace properly? You know, so I've been advocating that. I went and got tested myself to show the citizens that it's not this gory thing, like they're tickling your frontal lobe or anything crazy like that. You know, so just to try to spread awareness to that thing. There's a couple of initiatives that are going on here in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be here in the city of East St. Louis, starting again tomorrow. We're going to do another 6 feet in the street prayer thing, and praying for the communities and the country and even the world of how we're going to look after COVID-19. I didn't really start this out to get the national attention that it's starting to get. You know, one of us was on a call with Maxine Waters a couple of weeks ago. She's definitely interested in getting involved in this initiative, and the churches down in Dallas and this, that, and the other. And we appreciate the churches just here, just pushing this initiative and understanding what we're doing. There's also, we're going to do a demonstration, not demonstration, but just do as far as to stay in lock and step with those in Minnesota. It's, you know, when Mike Brown got killed, and you know, this just sits me back to that time and that era, Evan, if you would, and those on the line, that, you know, St. Louis was at a real disarray. But when we look at Minnesota, you know, it's just, you know, it should be a better way that we can get to corral or to get our message across than doing the violent things we're doing. So we're going to be doing a demonstration as well on tomorrow as relates to that. You know, so we ask everybody that wants to attend, they can. You know, it's going to be tomorrow at 12. We're going to be meeting at Eastside High School at 11 to get our marching orders, and then we'll go to our designated places, and then we'll move on and pray, and then we'll give more things to do with that initiative there on site. But you can also go to the website 6feetinthestreet.com. That's 6, the number 6, feet.com, and that you can get more information about what the initiative is. And also the Urban League will be here again with that massive food giveaway that they had a couple of weeks ago. And that will be on next Saturday at noon at Eastside High School. So anybody that is interested in helping out or volunteering, or you know anybody that may be in need of food, they're also giving out PPE things and toiletries and stuff like that. You know, it was done in the middle of the weekend. I tell you, you know, for all those who saw it, it is everything they said it is. You know, it's definitely is going to be well attended, and I believe that this Saturday or next Saturday it will be even more people because it's on a Saturday. So we want to make sure that we, participate and come out with that. And the cities now, we're just really getting back engaged and doing our normal things of normality of just trying to run the city. You know, we got budget issues. You know, it's grass cutting season, so my mind is kind of shifting a little bit, you know, on those administrative things, the duties that we have to do, you know, and it is challenging, you know, it is very challenging, you know, as of, you know, COVID has no barriers on race or religion or anything like that, or, you know, so I've been hit here at City Hall, you know, one by a councilman, his mom passed away of COVID, you know, so this thing is definitely real, and we just want to just make sure that we continue to keep those in prayer that have lost people of COVID, and those that have tested positive, you know, and their families and their loved ones, because this is you know, like I said, this is a trying time. You know, it's a difficult day for me today, but you know, we'll motor through it. So again, I want to say, Evan, appreciate the opportunity to speak here briefly with you guys, and I stand engaged and I stand in unison with everything that you're doing, and I'm here at the ready for whenever you guys need me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and condolences for the losses that you shared. And as mentioned, it's a difficult day for all. I acknowledge the time. I wanted to leave you all with a quote that I often go back to. And this is, you know, particularly in light of some of us on this call may not have the daily life experience or threat feelings of being at risk as others, and wanted to call into how do we approach our work. And so the quote for those on the phone is, if you have come here to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound with mine, then let us work together. I encourage all of us to work together, to have a way to, I took off the screen, so if anyone wants to pop in real quick and say hello from the video, this is the time. I know we're at time, and I'm standing between you and possibly lunch, so I do not want to hold you much longer, but I felt it important that we gather as a village, as a community, just to say hello. We are in this together, both now and I believe that we have the strength and the resilience for the long haul too. So I just thank all of you that we get to see, those whose names we read as well. And we know that we'll be plugging in at different points throughout the next few weeks, but our next check-in briefing will be 2 weeks from now. Until then, thank you all so much for all of you, the tremendous work, tremendous sacrifice. And I hope there is space and time today and over the weekend for self-care, for rest, and because we need you all to be strong as we go forward. So thank you for your time, for your ears, and for your work. Have a great day. We are concluded.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thanks,
Have a good
Evan.
weekend.
Have a good
Peace.
weekend, everybody.
God bless you, Mayor.
Everybody have a good weekend. Thank you so much.
Carol.
Be safe, be careful.